Hero Factory. We build heroes. And today on the Bionicle Inspiration series, you guys build heroes.
And that's really cool. That's so cool because what is it? It's February. It's HF Feb. And you know what that means? Do you know what that means? Well, I'm going to tell you what that means. HF Feb is this cool little thing going on right now. It's kind of happening on Instagram, but it's also happening everywhere. In fact, most of these mocks weren't even from Instagram. So if you don't have Instagram, fret not. Essentially what HF Feb is, or Hero February, whatever you want to call it, it's a festival of many names. Basically, build some heroes, build some villains. Doesn't matter how good you are at building or not, just build some. In the spirit and fun of building, the love of making stuff. Just build stuff in February, hero or villain related. It's fun, it's enjoyable. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is some Hero Factory related mocks that have either specifically been built for HF Feb or haven't. In fact, I think all of these were actually built specifically for HF Feb. A bunch of these were submissions. If you've built heroes in the month of February, please submit them through the submission email you're currently seeing on your screen, because I plan to do a few more Hero Factory related episodes for the month of February to cover HF Feb, because this is awesome. I love seeing the Bionicle community come together and build some really cool Hero Factory stuff, because honestly, there's just not a lot of them. And I'll talk about that more as we discuss in the episode, but yeah, we're going to talk about some Hero Factory related mocks today for the love of Hero Factory and the awesomeness that is HF Feb. So, let's begin. First mock we've got today is by Ivan Martinov, and it's Thunder. So this is a revamp of the Hero Factory villain, Thunder. So immediately what grabs me about this mock is the cool, like, orange arm that he's got. It reminds me of this old Transformer toy I used to have. He was called Hoist, I believe. He was indeed called Hoist. Here's some pictures of him. What I love so much about this Transformer toy is the fact that it, quite similar to this Thunder mock, had this really cool arm, because he transformed into this sort of like scooper excavation like vehicle thing. I don't know the technical term for that. 6-year-old Ben did, but 24-year-old Ben has forgotten that. But still, I always really enjoyed this toy, and I really enjoyed playing with the kind of function, how that arm looked so sort of construction-like in nature, had this really big industrial vibe to it. And also just made the character design of Hoist when he was in robot mode just look so cool. So I kind of love seeing that here on Thunder. It kind of gives me this sense that maybe, because I don't really know the backstory for villains in a lot of the Hero Factory lore. I don't know how much lore was even really there in Hero Factory. It's a little less, clad with story that like Bionicle was. But I love the idea that Hoist has maybe gone to some sort of industrial area and has like taken apart construction vehicles and used it to like modify himself. And I think it kind of almost ties back to his name to some degree. Like the arm has that little like symbol on it, and with a little lightning bolt running through it. And it kind of gives this sense that like, areas where there might be like really high voltage, he's kind of played around with those and used it to modify himself. And yeah, there's just this really nice industrial feeling to him, which feels like surprisingly like villain-like. Not that the industrial or construction industry is a bunch of villains or anything. I'm not at all saying that, of course not. They do great work, but there's something that, I don't know, it seems really like laden in like comic book history. Like often you see the bad guys fighting at some sort of like construction site, and somehow they, that can relate to their powers. Like I think Electro from Spider-Man or something, or I don't know, there's a lot of times you see like the Sinister Six or other Spider-Man villains fighting him in construction sites. Sandman, for example, I don't know, there's just, I feel like that's just really interesting kind of stereotyping. Maybe that's not the right word, but just kind of like visual like symbolism of the idea of like construction can kind of somehow like tie back to some sort of kind of comic book fight that could involve a villain in some fashion. So I think that's just really interesting, just what that does for this mock and how much that kind of hypes up his power set, his like the fact that he's a villain, just all sorts of stuff like that. I think it's really, really interesting and really unique, and it looks cool. It's especially cool how he's got that little sort of ball or zamisphere there in the base of that kind of robotic orange arm. And yeah, it very much looks like that's where a lot of his like lightning powers could stem from. All the different wires that also connect to it that sort of seem to link up to like his head and his waist as well. It gives it just this very beautiful robotic feel, but it also does look like, yeah, again, the electricity sort of feeding through his body in different areas and maybe giving him life, powering him up in some fashion, and, powering his weapon abilities or whatever. I think it's just really cool. It's really unique. I think it's a very different take on Thunder. The original set did have those, a very similar arm design, really, to this one to some degree, and I always saw that as some sort of, I don't know, I imagined each individual finger had, like, it was sort of a conductor or a source of electricity in some way. And again, that even sort of had this sort of mechanical, like construction vehicle vibe to it. So I love how he's really played with that concept that really wasn't like majorly prominent in the set either, or in the like idea for Thunder, but he's taken it down a different avenue that seems so fitting somehow. I just really, really like that. It's beautiful. And I also think just that pop of orange really just shines on this mock. I think it makes it look really nice. But yeah, I'll quickly talk about that tubing again. I always love seeing good tubes on a mock like this because it just looks so mechanical and robotic, which, you know, ultimately that's what we're doing, isn't it? We're building a bunch of robots with Bionicle or Hero Factory pieces in this regard. So I don't know, I just love seeing tubing being used in really effective ways here because I think it just looks really pretty. Looks really pretty. So I definitely implore you to use some tubes. It's not always easy because sometimes they can be like large and cumbersome and you have to kind of like work it into the armor and stuff. But when you manage to pull it off right, it can be really good. I don't think it's necessarily difficult to use tubes in a mock, but it can just be a pain, you know? It can just be cumbersome, you know, because they go everywhere and all that. But yeah, if you're willing to put up with a bit of that, I think you get some really good results like you see here. I also love too just how like smoothly armored all the grey is on this version of Thunder. It just looks so nice. It just is a very different way of approaching Thunder, but it still feels so ingrained in the original source material, and I love that. I think that's, you know, beautiful in the spirit of HF Feb here to really take those original concepts for the villains and find unique ways to reimagine them, you know, just to give it your own personal touch and to give it some brand new life. It's really, really nice. It's really nice to see. All right, so that's it for Thunder by Ivan Martinov. Let us now move over to a mock by MC Lego Boy, not MC Gamer, which I called him last time. That is a very different YouTube channel, but still a nice guy. Anyway, MC Lego Boy built this, and this is Bruce Sawgrinder. All right, so this mock has a story which I will quickly talk about. So, well, MC Lego kind of says it in the description here, so I'll more or less read his description, but I'll add some more to it because there is more to it. So the description here says, Behold, Bruce Sawgrinder, the latest hero to save Makuhiro City. So he says here, back in June, Ben Cossy, that's me, did an episode of his Bionicle Inspiration series with the theme of low parts count. And he mentioned the idea of taking the parts from Evo, Breeze, and Stormer and making a hero just by combining these few sets. And he dubbed the idea Bruce Sawgrinder. And so he continues to go on in the description here to say that he did exactly that, because a lot of people apparently in the Discord server was still talking about this and still working through this. I'm like, actually, this is a cool idea. Let's bring him to life, which is awesome. So further context on Bruce Sawgrinder. I believe I was in year 10 or 10th grade in school, maybe 9th grade, I don't remember. It was a while ago at this point. But a part of like the work you had to do in school, you had to do, I think a week or maybe 2 weekends. I don't fully remember. Again, this was maybe like 8 years ago, so it was a while ago. You had to do like, I think 20 hours of community service was what it was. And you could pick between like 3 different things. So I picked with my friend doing like archiving. So we went down to this graveyard. We had to like clean a bunch of graves, and we had to like pick someone on one of the gravestones, and we had to go back to the library in the city and research them, and then like put up a like page on their like archive list about this person that had been deceased many years ago. A lot of them were like, I think, criminals and convicts, because, you know, Australia, old Australia, we're good people now. But like, it was just interesting to read up on them and all that at the time. And one of the person that me and my friend picked, because you like did it in teams, his name was Bruce Sawgrinder. Or something very close to that. I remember his name had like Saw in it, and it was super cool. And at the time, Hero Factory was coming out, and the two of us really liked Hero Factory, and we were both like, yo, that's like a brilliant name for a hero. What if we like made Bruce Sawgrinder? And we spoke about what we would do, and we were like, I reckon he'd be like lime, and so like spoke about the color schemes, and then we went back and we kind of built something fairly similar to what MC Lego Boys built here. I think the only difference is that we didn't have yellow for the head, we had red for the head, I believe, but we actually used that exact same headpiece as well, so that's pretty cool. Or the gear, like the goggle things he's got. So it's really awesome that a little fun like memory of a mock that I made with a friend has now got some like little like fan art of it. It's actually just really, really cool. Yeah, so that's the history of Bruce Sawgrinder, a real person, or his name was something close to that. I apologize to the real Bruce Sawgrinder. I forget your proper name, but it was very, very close to that. It had Saw in it. So, hey, this is really, really cool. Let's talk about the actual mock, though, now. So, I love that he has lived up to his name, and he has a literal saw grinder, or a buzzsaw, or whatever you want to call it. And it's cool that it changes size as well. I don't know how the logistics of that work, but he's just got some, like, PIM particles, and you can change the size of his buzzsaw. That's awesome. I like that he is using that smaller buzzsaw piece and the larger one, because I think I've also said in past Biss episodes, maybe even in that low parts count episode, I don't remember, that buzzsaw piece is so underused. I just don't see it in a bunch of mocks. And look, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places, but from all the mocks I've seen, that piece is just doesn't get a lot of love, either the small or the big one. So it's nice to see it being used properly, and nice to see that it fits a badass name for a hero as well. I really, really like that. I still like his cool sword that he'd not sword, sorry. Shield. They both start with an S, and both of them are in Marvel, so it's a common thing that I could get confused over. But his shield also has that Hero Factory logo on it. I like the idea that he's, I don't know, kind of like Captain America. He's just like, I'm gonna promote America with my shield. It's gonna be gaudy and really obvious, but like, that's how much I like America, you know? So I like here that he's like, that's how much I like Hero Factory. I'm gonna put the Hero Factory logo on my shield. I know it's on my torso, but it's also on my shield. It's fun. It's fun. It seems fitting. We're getting a personality for Bruce Sawgrinder. He's a very patriotic character. Would you call it patriotic if he really likes the company that made him? I don't know. He likes the people that gave him life, I suppose. But still, this looks awesome. And something I like about it too is that MC hasn't gone into like super hardcore detail with this. He hasn't given it like custom limbs and like a really super complex body design or anything like that. He's just used the typical like prefab pieces and has essentially just made a combiner model with those three sets. What was it again? Evo, Breeze, and Stormer. And I really, really like that because there is actually something so fun about just doing that, just taking the pieces from a set and making a combo model with them. Or not even doing that, just taking your miscellaneous Hero Factory parts and going, I'm just going to build a pretty stock standard hero. I don't need to go ham on like super complex techniques or nice part usages. It can just be really fun and really refreshing to just build in the way that the sets were built, because that is its own unique style of building, and it's a really good one, you know? So never underestimate the joy that can bring you. I mean, I definitely want to build some heroes for HF Feb, and that's probably how I'm going to do it, just because that is actually really fun, just to go ham there and just build in the way the sets were. It's really nice. So yeah, Bruce Sawgrinder looks amazing. It's cool to see my little fan creation brought to life by someone else. It's really, really cool. Solid work. I should also say, it says here in the description as well, he says, yeah, so however, the idea of Bruce Sawgrinder has lingered and persisted in the Discord server, and the all-seeing eye took it upon himself to bring Bruce to life. I believe he drew an image. Screw it, I will show you this image. And thus, our three brains have birthed a new hero just in time for HF Feb. So, Mr. All-Seeing Eye is also slightly responsible for this. Good job, Mr. All-Seeing Eye. Alright, so that's it for Bruce Sawgrinder. Let's move over to some more stuff. We'll go back to some villains now. At least I assume this is a villain. It doesn't say in the email, but it looks it. This is Black Mace by Enser. So Mr. Enser has done, I think, a really, really good job. This is such a unique and different villain that... the thing that immediately grabbed it for me is that obviously he has his mace, he lives up to his name, and I love just the kind of general sort of silhouette that this character has. He's not heavily armored, he does have a big old mace, but that's kind of it, and it's a pretty realistic normal mace as well. It's not some sort of weird sci-fi mace that's got guns on it and has like a mace on both ends or whatever. Like, it's pretty normal. But he still looks imposing, evil, and very villainous, you know? So, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of, like, Iron Fist, for example, just the Marvel character as a whole. Like, his costume itself is pretty cool, but often in a lot of art, he's also just drawn as being shirtless with, like, you know, kung fu pants on. And what I like about that is that he still looks badass, and he's still a character that's just awesome and does really cool stuff. I think this is pretty similar to that. He doesn't need big old armor. He doesn't need a jetpack or like engines on his feet or translucent lightning coming out of his face. He's just this, what looks to be like a dude who is really good at using a mace. And, he's trained in combat, and he's a legitimate villainous threat, I like the simplicity of that, because I think there is a beautiful element of Hero Factory that is in the sort of weird and wonderful, like Rotor, for example. He had a big old rotor on his back that spun around, and you could use it as a weapon, or he could use it to fly. And also at the same time, he had a big old like poison gun and a Zamisphere shooter thing, which was, very sort of to some degree over the top, but still really, really cool and really grounded in the world. But I like that this guy isn't over the top, that he is just very realistic, but still has this air of evil to him. I don't know. I think that's really cool. I think that's just a different way of approaching it, but still a really realistic and cool way. So I think that's something to think about too. If you do want to build a villain for HF Feb, how do you want to do so? Do you want it to be really over the top and weird and pulpy, or do you just want to be a little bit more sort of reserved with it and just have it be this kind of evil robed figure or this martial artist or something? Have a think, always a valid and always a pretty cool as well. So yeah, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, let's talk about the mock a little bit. I love his general kind of waist design. I always like seeing cloth being used on mocks because it always looks good. But this cloth specifically, I believe, is the Kylo Ren cloth. It looks like it's been modified. Oh, is it the Kylo Ren cloth? I think the Kylo Ren cloth's a bit longer than that, isn't it? I don't know what cloth this... Oh, is it Darth Maul's cloth? Maybe. Look, I'll be honest, I don't know. There's a lot of cloth out there. But still, it kind of parts in three ways. It sort of flows over the front and kind of parts on the sides. But what's nice about that is it nicely exposes these little bits of silver armor on his upper legs. And I like how that cloth really nicely styles around that armor. It's like he's a fashionista and he planned this, I just think that looks cool. I think it's just a nice way of sort of showcasing that armor, As beautiful as using cloth is in a mock, it can often obscure a lot of the details that you put on the mock. So I love here that the cloth is enhancing it, but not really obscuring anything. So it's really nicely implemented here in a very unique way. It's pretty cool. I also like this head design using that Black Phantom mask, because I do love that Black Phantom mask. But I love how he's added those horns on the side there using some of those like elephant trunk pieces. Gives him this sort of like Dovahkiin, almost sort of like tiefling devil style head helmet with horns. It looks super, super cool. So yeah, really like that. Really love his mace. Really love his general sort of stocky silhouette here. It's really cool. So that is Black Mace by Encia. Let's move over to a mock by Velosa Jackdaw. And this is a bit of a longer name, but I shortened it on the thing, so I'll read it out in full for you. It is P Stormer version 0.1, and in brackets it says resisted termination, location unknown. So I really love this concept. So essentially what he's done is he's like, this is like the very first version of Preston Stormer that was made at the Makuhiro City Hero Factory. And it didn't go so well. It seems that it gained sentience and started to do evil things, and they tried to terminate it to stop it doing these evil things, and it got away, and that didn't work. And so obviously they've made later versions of Stormer now, and he's the noble hero that he is, and he's good, but there is an old ancient version of Stormer that went rogue and turned evil and became sentient and did some bad news bears stuff. I love that. Very Ultron vibes to some degree, specifically like the Ultron in the MCU, specifically in the look as well. But I love that idea, and I feel it's so fitting for Hero Factory as well. Some of the really early concept art for Hero Factory that I believe was used as one of the prizes in the Bio Cup as well is this old poster that says like heroes suck, and it's a villain factory style like poster. It's I think it's almost like graffiti as well. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember it was very like funny because it said like heroes suck on it or whatever. And I was like, that's fun. Did it say heroes suck, or was it like it's been a while since I've seen this poster. Let me pull it up, see if I can find it. Okay, all right, I found it. So it is not saying heroes suck. It's saying evil sucks, which I think is fun and funny. And obviously it makes sense that's concept art. They wouldn't keep that because it's a little on the nose. But like, what I think is so fun about that is it does to some degree encapsulate Hero Factory, that it is a little bit more sort of like goofy and fun and different. And it kind of reminds me of like sort of Saturday morning cartoons or like serials. It's very pulpy. It's very like, different, And I feel that that's so in line with this version of Stormer here. It's so much like a comic book that it's like, did you know that this character had a clone that's evil? And it was made thousands of years ago and they've only just stumbled across it and blah. And like, it's so goofy and different. You wouldn't see it in some like gritty modern movie or something, But there's something so fun and nice about that. And I think it's just very fitting for that Hero Factory world. It's also very fitting for the concept of the fact that this Hero Factory quite literally makes these heroes. And I'm sure they would have had some defects. That's just how making stuff works, So I think it's a really unique concept for a villain and a really unique concept for that world. I think it just fits into it very nicely. So let's talk a bit about the mock because it's beautiful. I love the sort of asymmetry that it has, how, one leg looks not quite fully armored, but for the most part, it's got a bit of white on it. Those repeated those repeated Exoforce robot finger arm pieces that come up so much in this episodes. It looks like sort of early armor prototyping of some sort. And then this other leg here looks totally defective. It very much resembles that original leg that's on the other side there, but it looks sort of very heavily unarmored. It looks sort of damaged or isn't quite finished yet because it is an early prototype in that sense. And then the other arm there, because it is an earlier prototype and because they tried to terminate this guy, maybe he lost an arm through that termination in some fashion. And because he is just this earlier version, he hasn't really fixed it yet. Or he's like, this is a part of my aesthetic. I don't mind. I want only, one arm. But I really like that. And I love how it's got those little sort of red wires just poking out. It's just cool. It's a really nice design. Very much looks like, very similar to Ultron, like I said before. Looks very defective. Very much like an early prototype. It's really, really cool. I love too how he's done the overall head design using that Hero Factory 2.0 main sort of smaller white headpiece, but then also using, again, the Exoforce robot bad guy arm piece there as sort of like a little comlink that's kind of, goes over his mouth so he can kind of communicate with the rest of the team, I think that's a really nice design. Looks really, really nice. Seems very fitting, especially because all the heroes did actually have that little recording mic thing around their head. I mean, you can see it on the Cossy logo, which is the Surge mask there, isn't it? So, all of them did have that. So it's fitting that this is a very different head, but still has little subtle callbacks to the original Stormer head, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, overall, a really unique concept, and I think really, really well executed because it looks exactly like what it's meant to be. An evil version of Stormer that is an earlier prototype that's not doing so hot. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to the next mock now. This is by Dr. Toxic, the all-seeing eye. We spoke about him before, and this is his Hero Factory mock, and it is called Bob the Bomb Lobber, which is not something I'm going to say 3 times fast because that would be difficult. But yes, Bob the Bomb there you go, see? Bob the Bomb Lobber. What I love about this is his plethora of different weapons, which obviously seems fitting for the name. This little description here says that he is a demolitionist. Man, that name screwed me up. So he's a demolitionist with a love for guns and anything that goes boom. He has a miniature turret that accompanies him in battle. It's pretty cool. So yeah, no, I love that. I love the idea because, again, that's the thing. You saw it a lot in like the commercials for Hero Factory and all the other little promotional material. Part of the Hero Factory is that they, get the frame, they put the armor on, they give it all these different enhancements, and if they need to go back and get some upgrades and stuff, they do so, There's machines and things that make them, and they upgrade the armor that these guys are wearing. And so I'm like, I love the idea that, the scientists at Marco Hero City are like, we are going to make a bunch of different guns and give them to Bob because that's how we programmed him, And I love that he has a large plethora of guns as well. It just seems very fitting for this factory that, does all they can to keep the villains at bay. I think it's really cool. And I think some of these guns are really unique and very nice. Specifically the big old Gatling gun he has that actually like splits off into multiple corners. Again, I think that's so... fun and out there and very like, Saturday morning cartoon, very pulpy, which I think, again, is very fitting for Hero Factory. What I think is so cool about it is that it's also just a unique concept. The fact that it splits off in multiple ways so you can shoot in multiple corners and at different angles and things. That's really cool. It's really fun. It does also remind me of this Darth Maul joke from like a Lego short. I think it's The Empire Strikes Out. I haven't watched it, but I've just seen the little clip of Darth Maul like activating his lightsaber and a whole bunch more pop out. The big Gatling gun kind of reminds me of that too, that it's over the top, it's fun, it's funny, it's cool, you know? But yeah, all these little guns are awesome. I specifically like that one a lot though. I also really love just the general color scheme of Bob the Bomb Lobber. The purple and the lime there, they look fantastic next to each other. And I remember doing that a lot when I would play around with little custom heroes from Hero Factory. It was fun to just, take the bits from one and put them onto the other and swap out the heads, swap out the hero cores, and see what kind of nice color combos you could get. Like here, combining, what's that? Evo's purple with Breeze's lime. It's just a really nice color combination. So do that as well. If you've got a bunch of different Hero Factory characters or pieces laying around, by all means, swap out the heads, swap out the colors. Just have fun playing with color schemes, because that is a fun part of mocking, and I also think it's just a really fun part of just making your own custom heroes exclusively using the pieces in the sets, because you had a lot of colors to play with, and you can get some beautiful color combos. So give it a think and have a play, because it's fun. It's very fun. But yeah. This guy looks fantastic. He looks awesome. I do love this one picture here, though, where he seems to be fighting this, like, zombie stormer or, like, other sort of zombie-like character. That guy looks really cool. I love how he's really effectively used that broken stormer mask there to make it look like he is some sort of undead zombie. It's just really, really nice. But, yeah, no, fantastic version of making your own custom hero here. He looks really cool. All right, let's move on to the second last mock now. This is by the Mug Bearer, and this is Furno Marine. So this is very similar to some of the other Hero Factory mocks I've spoken about in recent Hero Factory episodes. It is this idea of sort of like power armor over the top of a pre-existing hero. Because that is exactly what this is for the most part. This is what appears to be basically Furno 1.0. And Mr. Mugbearer here has just added over a bunch of like silver and black armor, giving him sort of like power armor, some sort of enhancements of some sort. It looks really cool. The description on the email says, this is Furno Marine, a design inspired by a first-person shooter called Section 8. This Furno configuration is designed for orbital drops, including an arm-mounted flame blaster, an extra quasar energy pack, with boosters that allow limited hovering as well as reinforced armor. That's pretty cool. I think that's a fun little backstory, and I think it seems very fitting for just how the mock in general looks. It does have this slight marine vibe to it, and it does look like he's sort of outfitted with very special armor for special and unique missions. So, yeah, a fun little take on Hero Factory that seems quite fitting for the universe. Also, one little detail that I really do love is his big old sort of wrist-mounted blade there. I think that looks really, really cool. Obviously the original set just had that as a sort of handheld weapon of sorts. But man, it looks cooler when it's a part of armor. It looks way cooler. So yeah, really, really unique way of doing that. It looks phenomenal. I love too how he's used to advantage. In this picture here, you can see it quite well. Looking at his upper arm and his lower arm, he's using two of those socket pieces that have the little axle connection at the base that's sort of pointing outwards instead of the sort of traditional way. But yeah, no, I think that that piece is super helpful. I have a few in my collection, but most of them are used in mocks that I've made. I've always just found them to be of good use, and so it's cool to see them both being used here for the upper and lower arm, because it does allow for good posability, it does allow for pretty easy connections. It just looks really, really nice. So solid work there. This is a very unique take on Furno, and it just looks super cool. So yeah, really good job, bud. Okay, now on to the final mock, and this is a really nice one by Matt Goldberg, and it is called Tex Wrangler. So this mock here is inspired by some sort of kind of concept art that was made by Brick Thing. Basically, I'll read the little description on his post here from the original little concept art that he designed. He said, this is hopefully an ongoing project that I'll be working on in which they are creating Hero Factory set concepts, which are created using digital CAD software, so technically all these custom pieces could in fact be produced in reality. And he says he's kind of made a few more, and if you want to check the links in the description, there is a link to a couple other kind of concepts that he has come up with as well. Now, I remember seeing this one ages ago and thinking it looked absolutely awesome. And I remember completely believing that it was a legitimate leak for future Hero Factory sets and being like, we're going to get cowboy heroes. That's awesome. Of course, that never happened, but man, what a cool concept. And so it's awesome to see that Matt has given that life. So yeah, overall it matches that source material pretty well using, official actual Lego pieces. And yeah, it just looks really cool, man. I love how he's done the hat design. This is a design we have seen a few times now in different episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration series, but in case you're unfamiliar with it, how it has been designed is using the Ben 10 Humongosaur sort of foam plasticky kind of piece. And basically you turn that inside out, you remove Humongosaur's head from it. Those are two different pieces. It's not like you have to modify it. But yeah, just by sort of turning that piece inside out, it forms a beautiful looking cowboy hat. And he's absolutely perfect for this mock. So really nice to see that being used on a very well-designed cowboy character. And it's really nice to see that, at least to me, that really historic concept art piece there is being brought to life using actual official Lego pieces here. So really, really solid part use there, really using that piece in a very creative way. Additionally, I love too how he's put the hero core just sort of on the side of his torso. Very much makes it look a little bit more like a sheriff's badge instead of, putting it in the middle like most hero cores are. I think that's just a fun little detail that, again, really fits that cowboy aesthetic. It's very nice. His two pistols are fantastic too. They really pop being in gold, using some of the Exoforce robot leg pieces this time to form the sort of base of the gun, the little grip bit that you hold there, and a few other different kind of wheel pieces and all sorts of stuff. It's a very, very effective looking gun design there. It looks amazing. And I also love too the use of the cloth just to give him a sort of subtle cape, again, very fitting for that cowboy aesthetic. And also the spur design that was inspired by a mock that Patrick Biggs did. There's a very nice little spur design there. It's a great way to convert those Hero Factory feet pieces in dark brown there, because surprisingly, they work really, really well for cowboy boots too. So just add those spurs on there and makes it really, really transforms them, honestly. Like, never realized how much they actually kind of looked like leather boots there. That's just really cool to see. But yeah, this is a awesome cowboy mock. Not enough cowboy mocks out there. If you want to build Western cowboy-inspired Hero Factory heroes or villains for HF Feb, by all means do so, because, man, Cowboys and Bionicle, underrated combo. Really, really cool. But yes, that's it for this Hero Factory episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series, and that's it for our coverage of HF Feb. Well, for this episode, I'm going to do some more HF Feb-related episodes in the month of February, so you can stay tuned for that, but that's it for today. If you enjoyed the mocks you saw in today's episode, be sure to check the links in the description below. You can see more of what these people have built, or you can just take a deeper, more personal look at the images of those mocks online if you wish to do so. Additionally, like I said up top, if you want to submit some of your own mocks to the show, you can do so through the email that's currently on your screen. If you want to submit Hero Factory related stuff, by all means do. Make sure to put, HF Feb or something Hero Factory related either in the subject for the email or just somewhere in the email. Doesn't really matter where specifically. But feel free to submit that stuff. And when I make future HF Feb episodes or just future episodes, I'll add those mocks that are submitted to the email on the list, and they'll appear on the show in time. Additionally, there's links to my own social media in the description below. I'm going to hopefully make a few Hero Factory mocks and post them soon. I'm busy at the moment, but I really would like to make some Hero Factory mocks. So, hey, stay tuned for that. You'll see them there when I have time to build some. But yes, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.